I, as your national president, will assume full responsibility of what is happening now. We're talking about the awards committee. It's unfair that the chairman of the award committee is not here. But again, as your national president, I will take the full responsibility of trying to explain to a certain point on how the committee were given full latitude on to decide how a particular award and their nominees would be judged. These lists, following the guidelines or whatever policies that are submitted by national, the same way it was done every year. The only difference this year is that we included, thinking that it would help, and I believe it did, a representative from international. And that is no other than our Vice President for Foreign Affairs. We knew that this person, this individual, who is well known, is always moving around. He's a man of perpetual motion. And the important thing here is this. The awards committee chairman, past President Vic Sanyo, identified a representative from each region. Officially, we have 4 regions, plus, of course, international, of which no other than Dr. Malagapo was chosen for international. Now, we knew that he was moving around, so the comment there was, whatever that will be transmitted by electronic data will be transferred to him. Whatever that could not reach him because he was moving around, it will be directed directly to the committee. So in other words, the committee would operate even without Dr. Malagapo physically present in front of them. But there was always communication. However, we are not perfect, as I said, we are human beings. Some of these communications, some of these mailings did not catch up on time. Whatever it is, all the nominees, all the bid, we call it the bids, no? BIDS, no? All the bids were turned over to the committee. And this was discussed on August 11 and 12 in the national office. Yours truly, personally, did not want to intervene. I did not want to be present because I did not want to influence or intimidate. I don't know if I can intimidate. I cannot even intimidate my wife. But I did not want to coerce or even suggest who should be favored or not. And in fairness to the board, they stayed for 2 full days, operating, I think, if I'm not wrong, close to 16 hours per day, just to go over the voluminous reports. However, as it is in any election or any selection, not everyone can be winners. Di ba ganun rin sa mga beauty contest, di ba? That's why kung ikaw ay pangit, don't join when everybody is beautiful. Choose when you find out sino mang kalaban nyo. It is really, I'm telling you, when you read, and I'm sure you guys know it, when you read the criteria of international, you will simply fall out from your chair. So seeing how detailed it is. It is really so difficult. I'm not talking about this year because I knew it was very voluminous. But the previous years when I was like a butterfly overseeing some of these discussions. And this year, they were really faced with a really tough struggle to identify. But again, gentlemen, ladies, we're not perfect. I'm not here to cover up for the shortcomings of the ward committee. But one thing I can start by stating one thing. There were no outside influences that determined their decision. It was transparent. I take note of that comment about criteria. The criteria, there is in the advice sent out to all the chapters, aside from the list of the number of data needed data needed per category. If need be, kahit nahirapan tayo sa time difference because Your representative was at that time, he believed in his cause. In Harvard, and there's a 12 to 13-hour difference. Your awards committee chairman did his best to communicate with Dr. Ed and try to get as much as possible the input. However, on top of that, the different regions have to also vote on how they would interpret. Now, there was a comment raised, and I acknowledge the comment. It's very real. It really hits straight to the heart. How will the people in Manila know what is happening here in the Middle East? Tama yan. That cannot be disputed. But that way it is right now. Can somebody from here tell me, even if you have Dr. Malagapo with so many PhDs, so many masters, that you will run out of paper, he will not be able to also know everybody's strengths and weaknesses. In fact, if he knows too much strength and weaknesses of a certain individual, he could even be charged by saying, pare, mukhang nag-favoritism ka dyan. You've been concentrating on one man. Sometimes it will be better. Sometimes, not always, that the analysis should be even by a person that is totally detached. Now, madali pang sabihin, very easy to say, pero mahirap ulit. I agree because I've been privy to the exchanges between certain chapters with Dr. Ed. I was always happy for this. I've noticed, I've read the replies of Dr. Ed to the people concerned, and I empathize with him. I commit that before my term ends, we will do a thorough review of all of this. But these were the same guidelines since before. Ang dinangalan natin, ang dinagdag natin, we even chose a representative from your region. But somehow maybe the experiment did not work as well. But I will not be discouraged. In fact, I'm going back to Manila with some of these comments of yours, of all these comments of yours, and try to sit down with the chairman. And find out. I cannot promise anything. But the committee is independent. I can assure you, no outside force. I know there's a question later that I have to be answering. No outside force, person, or anything intervened in the selection. And that was a very highly charged environment wherein the committee had to work in because we were undergoing a crisis. So, gentlemen, I beg your indulgence. At the moment, take it the way it is. I can assure you that these comments on the criteria and the reason for the rejection. By the way, I would like to emphasize, this is a personal view of mine. If I was not selected, assuming that I was not selected, I personally wouldn't like to know straight into my face, pare, sorry pare, you wouldn't give it the tanga, which I helped draft those core values. Somewhere along the line, those core values are not followed by us to some varying degrees, okay? In fact, knowing, say, candidate A, you failed because like this. Then the candidate A will say, teka muna, candidate B, ganito. The more you try to generate it, the more difficult. We have to reach a certain level of maturity for this. I agree that there has to be a feedback mechanism. But that feedback mechanism should be given either voluntarily if the person wants it, or through a committee or through the Vice President of International, which I think it's difficult because it's a political position, or through the different chapters, or in the chapter president. We could not handle this because kulang itong documents. Mahirap sabihin, Mr. President, sorry, yung bata mo ay talagang kulang. He's not good enough. Wow, what an insult. What an insult. You all are good. Believe me, and hindi ko nagbola dito. To be able to survive in this working environment, you guys are damn good. But some of you will rise higher than the others. Ganon din. Some of you are tall, some of you are short. What can I do? Unless I will wear elevator shoes, still I'm short. You know, ganon ang buhay. But I can assure you, no influences from anybody. Not in my work. Not in my work. In the previous words, I believe it was also fair. But I cannot talk for them. I can talk for my work. So with that, I think I've talked enough. Your comments will be brought, and in total confidence, I'll be sharing it. I do not know the candidates. I will be sharing it with our VP, our head for the awards and nominations committee, Chairman, PP, past President Vic Sanyo, and I'll bring it up to him. He already submitted to me some changes, which I would like to discuss, and maybe even discuss this during our workshop on internal affairs during the convention. Because I think it is through that channel that we will be able to maybe rationalize or bring it more down to earth on how we can select our overseas. Mr. Chairman.
Did
again, sir, Joey Salalila from Quebec Chapter. He answered the national award, but my concern is inside from the national officers. Like why, and what is the behind, or the reason why he resigned, and now is here. The second one is, who are those people who maybe he cannot name, but he can pinpoint, who want to trample those power? Some people have power, fame, money, and everything. And I know P. Cornell, based on the data that I received on CV only here in Jeddah, he has money, he has power and everything. And I only ask this one thing. He said there is no politics in PSME in choosing those national awards. I want to ask you, sir, why did you resign? What is the reason? Who is behind? Can we know it? And do you want again to repeat, say what happened before with Paredes and like this? Thank you, sir.
Ladies, gentlemen, ladies, that is not part of it. But since that's we're in the flow, I would just like to make it a very concise answer. The reason this resignation came about goes back about a year ago, when the board under 2013 of the board of past president, immediate past president Rudy Sultan, they approved the implementation of the reallocation of the board seats as mandated in Article 5, Section 5.1 of our bylaws and our policy manual, which states that every 3 years, the National Board shall, repeat, shall, not will, but shall, review the membership listing of each region and determine the seat allocation for each region, totaling 15, okay? Previously, the seats were 6 for NCR, 4 for Luzon, which is dalawa para sa North, dalawa para sa South, 3 for Visayas, and dalawa para sa Mindanao. And international was recommended years back, 2 years, 3 years back, to be part of those regions already. But that was not SEC did not act on that, because up to now, there is that conflict we have with Bayoran, and that although we have won all the cases, Bayoran is still always disputing now. So we have to pull it back. But anyway, it's good so that we can do more revisions. But putting that aside, so implementing the bylaws is critical for any board, because based on our corporate code of the Philippines, if a particular board of directors do not implement the bylaws of each society, company, corporation, or whatever, they are liable to be sued by any member or stockholder or affiliate within that group. So during the time of Karudi, it was approved based on the membership listing that, in spite, as I said, I don't know if you remember, I mentioned that we're over 80,000 members on paper. We have only about 11 to 12,000, 11,000 as of 2013, who were active in PSME. Out of these 11,000 plus, 4,000 to 5,000 are lifetime members, life members. In other words, you don't pay, but you vote. The rest, maybe about 5,000 or 5,000 plus, are the regular members who still pay every year. So in other words, the only ones who can vote are these 11,000. So depende sa region, ang lumalabas ngayon, na ang Metro Manila, na NCR, would have to be reduced from 6 to 4. Luzon would be maintained at 4. Visayas from 3 to 4. And Mindanao from 2 to 3. Kumbaga, ang bagong ratio would have been 4, 4, 4, 3, totaling 15. So, in that board, I was not a part of that board, although I was the consultant. The board passed it. It was a very heated debate, and there was a request for deferment for the next year, which have been this year. And because pending a review, tama naman sa tama ba yung mga figures. However, it's very clear in our bylaws, the membership figures of your respective chapters ay baliwala kung ang membership listing sa amin, sa national, depending on what you remitted. Those are the ones who will be determined who can vote for the next set of officers. So, there were chapters, I will not mention, maybe it's not here. There were chapters that were collecting from members who were never remitting it to national. For whatever reason, I cannot prove that. Previously. So, ang nangyari dito, na-stagnate ang particular chapter, ergo, the particular region was also affected. And so be it. So, nangyari ngayon, nadihado ngayon ang NCR. So, the fight continued, and it now, when I took over in January 2014, in our review kung ano ba mga pending na dapat i-implement, lumitaw ito. So in fact, it caught me off guard because I said, you mean to say the whole PSME is surviving with the money coming from 4,500 members only? Nasaan ang iba? It took a lot of soul searching to find out what really is wrong with our system. Whatever it is, we had to implement it. That is where the problem started. So definitely, I mean, if you were in the place of NCR, ganun ang feeling mo, teka mo na, nabawasan mo din eh. So there was this struggle. And I have served in the national since way back 1990s. And before, the national, the NCR would, I think, had about eight seats out of the 7. So another controlado agad. Now they're down to 6, and eventually they would have gone down to 4. So there was this stalemate. And in the process, we asked the help, the enlightenment from our past presidents, etc. And that is where maybe it is my personal feeling. I'm just human, and I felt, I said, my God, I am being forced to prolong and prolong this struggle, and this will never happen. And somebody, some wise guy, all what I need is one, I will not say SOB, some wise guy who will later say, taga Mindanao or taga Visayas, sir, I will charge you in court for not implementing and keeping our region underrepresented. And I would have done 6 years in jail, together with, of course, mabuti kasama ko si Manny Paulino, would have kept me a very good company in jail. Pero, ang masama na dito is, ang pangit tingnan if there is somebody who will complain. And that's what I was insisting. Sana, let's give it a chance. We have to implement what is our law. And that is where the struggle came in. And there were influences from plenty of people. And some of them are past presidents, some past presidents, not Bali. Bali was my counselor. But there are others who are saying, Mon, just let it go, status quo. I said, I cannot accept a status quo. You elected me to be president in order that I will implement the bylaws. Come hell or high water, I will have to implement the bylaws. I might lose friends, yes, but I will not lose my mother-in-law. Diba? Yan ang masama. However, gentlemen, I made a speech before the decision was told to the board. It was August 21. I made a speech in front of Chairperson Mansala, nandiyan rin si VP Internal Money. And I think even our National Secretary was present. Wherein I told in Davao, because at that time my mind was already made up. Right after that speech, we would have our board meeting. I said, to all the members present, I said, I am here to be your president. I am here to implement our bylaws, regardless who feels or gets hurt. Follow what we say in the core values. I believe, I said, I will not be doing my job if I will close my eyes and say, ipadaan natin ito. I will not be fair to the people in Visayas and Mindanao if they are already grossly underrepresented, and still I will not be able to move for its approval. And I knew I couldn't move it because there was a lot of filibustering, etc. But natural yan, kasama na yan sa board. However, I told them, let it be very clear. And I want to make this clear to all presidents and all future leaders here. The presidency is not worth dying for. And I stated that in very clear terms. The presidency is not worth having the capacity like a toko, a tapi toko, that you want to hold a chair. I am the president, I want to hold that table, I want to be the boss. It's not worth it. What is worth? And I said, I will not die for the presidency, I will die for PSME. Anytime. Yan ang mahirap. You have to play a balance. When you are a president sitting in front of your board, you cannot put your feelings across. You have to be fair. You have to be democratic, which I tried to do my best. Unfortunately, democracy did not work, because democracy, we had more in numbers, but still we couldn't push through. We were trying to be fair. And it reached a point when, again, bombarded with comments, status quo, I said, gentlemen, I've made up my mind. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not a son of a bitch that will railroad whatever has to be done. I would rather, I said, quit right now, turn it over to the EVP. And EVP, maybe you're a better man than me. I will remain in the board, because that's the only way I can now fiscalize. I was elected as a board of director, and the board elected me as president. So I relinquished my post in the belief that maybe somebody will be more enlightened than me. Maybe I was not good enough. I said, I might as well step down. And I stepped down. No regrets. And I hoped at that time that that would dramatize the need for our core values. In fact, I said, it is time that we throw those core values to the wastebasket. Because it seems what we do here is more for personal interest or regional interest rather for the interest for our members. Now, gentlemen, to be fair, of our morning discussion, it reached the point that our EVP also resigned. Then our national secretary also resigned. You have to protect the profession. I have to protect my personal values. I have to protect the national board from having this push and pull. Nobody wanted to give in, when in fact, there should have been giving in because it was 8 to 7. It was 8 to 7 in favor of implementation. But still, it was never, it was never coming about. At the end of the day, dumating kay Chairperson Mansala. So Chairperson Mansala told Chair Boy to call me to attend the meeting, which was last, when was that, October or September, maybe 19. No, 21 was the actual later. No, about 4 days before. No, September 16. And I went to the office together with Boy, and we talked about it. And Ma'am Mansala told me, Mr. Picornell, you have to come back. I said, Ma'am, I will not come back. I made an irrevocable resignation. What will stop the other members of the board who dislike the way I ran the board from now suing or going into a smear campaign saying that I'm not a man of his word? I will not come back. So that, bakit naman? So I explained. And she knew, as a lawyer, she knew that the board of 2013, yung Karudi, could have been sued also. And our board, 2014, could have been sued also. Now, she told me, you have to come back whether you like it or not. I said, no, Ma'am, I'll go back if there will be a new round of election. I have to come back under a vote of new confidence, a vote of confidence that my leadership is accepted by the board. Then she says, what else? I said, the allocation has to be approved, as was approved during the time of Karudi. Then the problem came implementation. Ang gusto nila next year. I said, no, it has to be done. In fact, it's 1 year late. So that is where she said, okay, Chairman Boy, Mr. Picornell will come back, but he insists on the new round, a vote of confidence, unanimous, and the implementation will be done because as a lawyer I believe that is what has to be done, and it has to be implemented now. Then she turned around at me and said, okay, Mr. Picornell, you're happy? I said, yes, ma'am, I'm happy. Then she says, to the victor, the spoils of war. But this is not war. We are a society of professionals and we're not fighting. What concessions can you give? And I said, I cannot concede because this is not my war. My war is the implementation of the bylaws. I have to ask the 2013 board, the proponents of that, if they're willing to concede. So right there, I called up Mindanao and asked them, are you willing to concede? Sabi Mindanao, hindi ako. We will stick to 3 because we need the 3. Malaki ang island in Mindanao. I called Visayas, which is Moncada. And Andy Moncada said, sir, if it's for the sake of peace, we will concede. We will remain as is. So that is where now we have that ratio of 5, 4, 3, 3. So with that, we met together, and together with Kamani here, si Roger, like to be either kingmakers or people who believe that they love the association of the society more than others. Can they be blamed? Depende. Let history judge that. But what I know is I will be judged whether I implemented the bylaws or not. Personally, when my term ends on December 31, and I made it very clear, because they were asking, Mon, are you running for election? No way. I will never accept to run more than once. Why? Because it will be an insult to all of us kung ako lang ang dapat mga presidente. Sa daming mga mahusay na leaders. There are so many leaders. I just want to serve my term. And on my term, I will implement what the law demands. That law of ours, by the way, I will be calling up Constitutional Convention to review again all our bylaws so that the international side will not be considered. There is a big problem with us. Ang ating batas, ang ating set of laws that was handed by Moses in Mount Sinai, at that time wala pang Skype. Wala pang text. So, we cannot hold a board meeting unless you are physically present. But I have served in big multinationals, big companies, wherein maybe half or more, maybe more than half are absent. One is in Paris, one is in New York, one is in Spain, and we still have our board meetings. Bakit hindi pwede dito? And that would make the jobs of whoever is the VP International or the VP Foreign Affairs, that would make his job so easy. He doesn't have to fly. You can be there. And that is what I would like to work for. Because as long you guys maintain your membership, remittances, and be on time, because you are only entitled to 1,400 votes. You have about 5, 6, 12, 10,000, but only 1,400 can vote. Because those are the only ones that are paying on time. But whatever it is, you keep it, let's say, at 2,000, you're entitled to 2 seats in the board. 2 seats. You will have a chance to control your destiny or what you really deserve. Because right now, you go where the wind blows. Mukha kayong mga kogol. Talahib. The wind goes this way, that's how your fortune will go. Nobody cares about international, then it goes another way. That has to be corrected. But what has to be corrected sa amin, sa Pilipinas, is the need for a sense of maturity. A sense that, yes, we have to implement the law. That is the only fiber that is holding us together. If we disregard our bylaws, you might as well forget about PSME. As I always said, PSME is like a building, and the bylaws are the foundation. Look at the Tower of Pisa. It's leaning. It was not well designed. We are like that. If we do not follow the bylaws, we will eventually, like the Tower of Pisa, we will fall down. We have to strengthen our foundation, and our foundation is our bylaws and how we implement it. So, I don't know if I answer your question, but these influences come from everywhere. Come from everywhere. But what is important is, there could be a lot of influence peddlers, but as long as your officers believe in the bylaws and that it should be implemented to the letter, no gray areas, it's either you're black or you're white, then I don't think we should fear. I don't think we should worry about PSME. Maybe you will have the members in the board who will be sons of bitches, but these sons of bitches know their business. And these sons of bitches will make sure that integrity, professionalism, teamwork, and leadership with stewardship is the name of the game. Anyway, that's
15 PP international operation. Again, I made a caucus, advanced caucus before this plenary, and we have the majority decisions coming from the chapter's president. But for the purpose of selections, we might get their vote for the international operations. So there will be selection purpose of so the floor is open to for the nomination for the BP International Operations 2015. Yes.
Good afternoon, good evening. I'm Joey Salalila from the chapter. I nominate Curricle 5 for BPI. Thank you.
Any other nomination?
I second the nomination of Jeddah chapter.
Anything else?
Resting again from Saudi Arabia chapter. I respectfully nominate Marco Juanite for BPI International.
Thank you for that nomination, but I told you there is caucus already, advanced caucus, so I decline the position. Any others?
Engineer Rosambaro from Lamigyan mo, seconded.
Yes, sir.
As far as the nomination is concerned, I don't think we need to do some kind of quotation or comments from each chapter. I think it's a modern academic. As long as the nominee accepted the nomination, then that's it. We had no contest. We have a new BPI. Thank you.
Noted. So the selection is goes to Carlito Albay, Engineer Carlito Albay. Then we will be international. We move to 9.3. The suggestions of the MERC activities. I think we discussed this one earlier. We will go to the 9.4. The chapters concerns and issues. The next one.
For our agenda 9.3, feedback and suggestions on MERC activities. This is our agenda item that we will discuss now.
Engineer Greg has discussed earlier that we are going to have the procedure and policy for this item. For the chapter concern, please.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I move for the adjournment of this plenary as we are over the extended time of 7 p.m.
Okay, thank you very much. Before I end, I would like to give you some closing remarks. No? This is a kind of story. You see, mayroon isang British na nagpapagupit sa barber shop. No? He's asking to the this magugupit. Barbero, what time British mag-accent ka? What time? It's almost done, So, sabi na, manggugupit, hawak-hawak na yung labaha, tsaka gunting. He cannot express how he will express. So, that time he's thinking, tapos na Sabi niya doon sa British, Sir, this is your end. Tumakbo yung British, takot So, the plenary is adjourned.